Alright, so as most of you all know, part of my mission with Modern Explorers is to show all these megalithic sites scattered all over the world, which is why I'm so excited to visit this beautiful specimen behind me. We are currently in New York State, about an hour and a half's drive north of New York City. And as you can see behind me, there is a balanced rock, is what it's called actually, but I think this is basically a dolmen. You'll be able to see this massive, massive capstone behind me. It's like a boulder on top of these 6 orthostats here. It's supposed to weigh at least 60 tons. Estimates are 60 to 90 tons, which is a huge, huge rock. It's pink granite and it's supposed to have come out of this area. It's not local to this vicinity. I'm not sure exactly where it came from or how far away, but it's definitely been brought in from outsides of this area. Mainstream people say that this is probably something to do with the glacier moving this rock and balancing it on top of these like this. I must admit I find that rather difficult to believe. I mean, the fact that it could be balanced so perfectly on top of these 6 stones here, I find difficult to believe, but maybe that could happen once or twice, but this actually occurs a lot in the New England area, and there's even dolmen like this that stretch across the border into Canada as well. So I think that mainstream theory is probably not really true, to be honest with you. The location that it's in is really interesting. There's a little stream behind here, and there's supposed to be a fault line. And there's also all sorts of magnetic anomalies associated with this place. One guy I talk a lot about in my videos is John Burke, and he is the guy who placed seeds on some of these megaliths and got increased yields, you know, increased resistance to bugs and that kind of thing. Yeah, so he actually investigated at this particular dolmen and found out all sorts of interesting things. And he also, in his book, has taken photos of electrical phenomena as well, like strange lights in some of the photos that he was taking. So there seems to be all sorts going on an energy level at this particular site. To back that up, these 6 stones here are completely full of crystal. They're quartz of some kind, and you can just see it's absolutely embedded with crystal, whereas this one on top is not. So there's probably some kind of like potential difference or some kind of like conductivity differences that can cause some transfer of energy, I would suggest. So these 6 stones also are really pointy, and so the point of contact between this massive boulder and these stones is basically at a point. So as it's pointy, it's going to have an increased pressure, which is going to help the piezoelectric effect, which is this effect, again, I've talked about a lot in my films, where you put certain crystals under pressure, they release electricity. So very interesting, really interesting place. I've seen structures like this around the world. Browns Hill Dolmen in Ireland really stands out for me because that was a huge round boulder placed on top of smaller stones. That is actually Europe's largest dolmen with a 150-ton capstone. It looks very similar to this. Most of the dolmen have more of like a flat capstone and a table-like, but you do get them like this with like the boulders on top. North Germany, for example, I videoed a few years ago, and also in places like I think Jordan and Korea as well. So really interesting because this is a dolmen and I'm in America, so it really starts to show that there was a global civilization that was creating a lot of these megalithic structures. They're not always the same, but there seems to be similarities in like certain things they do, like the crystal content, for example. So fascinating stuff, and I think we'll continue on with our tour of New England.
The placing of balanced rock on 6 smaller stones seems unlikely to be a natural occurrence. And when we look at the other large boulders in the New England area, it is not easy to work out if they are just glacial erratics or have been purposefully constructed. When you look at glacial erratics, they tend not to be placed on smaller stones, but rather sit on the ground directly. And while some of the other potential dolmen in the area are placed on stones and look like they have been placed there on purpose, there are others that could just be erratics. Tripod rock found in the Pyramid Mountain Natural Historic Area is an interesting example. It looks like it was placed on purpose as it is balanced on 3 smaller stones, and it has been suggested that other stones surrounding it point to the summer solstice sunset. There are also other places around the world where there is an unexpectedly dense population of strange looking and curiously balanced stones. One thing is for certain, and that is that structures were being built in the area by intelligent minds. There are said to be around 800 stone chambers that are not exactly megalithic, but they have large stones incorporated into their design, and it shows that people were utilising and building with stone back in the day. The most famous of these sites is America's Stonehenge, which has structures that look similar to Dolmen, and signs of building techniques that are similar to other ancient structures around the world.
Je dis la vérité, la vérité.
In addition to the chambers, there are walls at the site that continue off into the woods, and are so numerous it has been estimated that there are around 250,000 miles of stone walls spread all across the New England area. And large-scale construction was taking place on the American continent, shown by tens of thousands of mounds found across the United States that are clearly not natural, and some of which are so large they have been cited as potential pyramids. Some other potential man-made dolmen have been discovered in Montana, some very curious looking structures that don't appear to be natural at all. I refer you to Julie Ryder's work for more about the research he has been doing with these strange looking monuments.